Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. That's you. I'm talking to you. You are a divine creation, a divine marvel. What's a marvel? Something that's truly amazing, wondrous, worthy of feeling amazement towards. That's you. I'm talking about you. And all of us human beings, we're all divine creations, divine marvels. We are all children of God. So thank you so much for bringing your beautiful, beautiful self to this gathering. To anyone who's new to this channel or this topic, hello, a very warm welcome. So today I'm going to be, what this channel is about some spiritual teachings by a very interesting man named Bruno Groening. And as we go along, you'll hear more about him and his teachings. If you'd like to know more, you can check out my website, www.thehealingstream.org. So a warm welcome to one and all. One of the key things that Bruno Groening taught is that in the universe, very specifically here on Earth, there's two primary forces or energies, and that we absolutely need to know about these energies and be very, very mindful of them. He used the German. He spoke in German, so he used the German words Guten and Bosse. Guten can be translated as that which is beneficial, that which is wholesome, that which nourishes. It can also be translated as good. Bosse can be translated as nasty, vicious, or evil, that which is harmful to life. So in essence, according to Bruno Groening, moment by moment, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, one moment at a time, there are two energies that are available to us to tune into and to tap into. Guten and Bosse, that which is nourishing and helpful to life, and that which is harmful to life. Now, one of the interesting things is that he spoke about is that Bosse is constantly trying to pull us away from Guten, that which is nourishing to life, that which is harmful to life, is constantly trying to pull us away from that which is helpful and healthy and nourishing. He described this, he called this the game of life. That he said that the good, that which is nourishing and pleasurable in a healthy sense of the word, is what we need to tune into. But this other force constantly tries to pull us away from that. In religious terms, you could say, and he spoke of it in religious terms as well, he spoke of God and Satan, that God is all around us and actually inside of us. And yet, even though God is all around us and inside of us, we have to consciously attune ourselves to tune into this, to goodness, to God. And here on this earth, there's this very interesting thing called Satan, or as he also called it, Bosse, nastiness, viciousness, evil, that's constantly trying to pull us away from God. So life is a school. He described life here on this earth as a school in which we learn how to stay connected, aligned, and in communion with God, and how to resist, in essence, resist the pull, this attempt to tug us off the good path, off the, good doesn't really cut it, off the healthy path, off the nourishing path, off the path of life. Bruno Groening also, he said that Guten is what Guten, as I said, is that which nourishes life. It seeks to create and it regenerates and nourishes, while Bosse is that which seeks to destroy, that which seeks to harm and destroy life. So while it is a game, there's also, and we don't want to be too serious about it, there's also a way in which we need to be very serious about it. He described life as a Krieg. It's a German word. It means battle, struggle. Excuse me, not life, but contending with Bosse. He described it as a Krieg, is the German word. Battle, struggle, fight, war, life or death battle. Now, we don't need to be fearful because Bruno Groening, like many other sages, saints, and teachers throughout history, has pointed out that we have an immortal soul. This soul or spirit, well, he spoke of three things, that we have a body, a soul, and a spirit. The spirit, he said, is where the divine spark is, that it cannot be harmed, it cannot be touched or tainted. The soul is immortal, it cannot be destroyed. This one lifetime we're on is just one of many, 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 many lifetimes. He once said, I don't know if I can do it. There we go, with the webcam. I don't know if you can see. He said, your existence as a soul is like this, and this one particular lifetime is like this. So we're on this vast journey, and our spirit and our soul cannot be destroyed. However, this force, Bosse, can wrap itself around the soul and lead the soul on a very, very painful journey. So in between this place of understanding that this tug between Guten and Bosse, between good with a capital G and evil with a capital E, meaning these cosmic forces, we need to find according to my understanding of what Bruno Groening taught, is we need to find the middle ground between understanding this tug of war as a game and as a battle, as a war. So we need to be lighthearted about it and have faith and trust, but we also need to take it very seriously. So one of the main tools for how to make life a joyful game and how to be successful at the battle with evil is divine energy. And it's very simple, very easy for us to take in this energy. Bruno Groening taught a very simple technique. He called it Einstellen. Many translations. One of them is to tune in, to take in, to attune, to focus on, to position ourselves, to align ourselves. So it's very easy to do. Please sit. The physical posture is easy. Sit or stand with your legs uncrossed and your hands uncrossed. If you're sitting, you can rest your hands on your legs, palms facing upwards. Back in an upright position. If possible, not leaning against your chair. If you need to, you can. But it's better to just have a relaxed, upright position. Then please close your eyes and now hand over to your understanding of a higher power, your understanding of God, Source, the ultimate, the supreme, the maker. All problems, all worries, all illnesses. Do that now. Open your heart and let all your problems pour out and give them over to the divine or to a spiritual helper you trust, a being such as Bruno Groening, such as Jesus. And of course, there's many, many amazing spiritual helpers and teachers all around us and all throughout this universe. Here I focus on Bruno Groening and Jesus, since Bruno Groening is who this is all about, and Bruno Groening spoke very highly of Jesus, but he never said that himself or Jesus ever had a monopoly on the spiritual helping business. In fact, he went so far as to say that Jesus was the Son of God and that God has many sons. So, handing our problems and our burdens over to God or to a spiritual helper that we trust, handing over resentments, handing over fears, handing over any bad habits we have. And now beginning to think about healing, beginning to reflect on that our bodies have this amazing capacity to regenerate, that there is an energy, a force in the universe for which nothing is incurable, nothing is impossible. As Bruno Groening said, that God is the supreme physician for all people. So bringing our entire attention onto healing, and then asking to receive the divine healing energy and observing your body, having the intention to receive that. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to receive. If your mind is going all over the place and it's hard to focus on your body, you can do something like follow your breath or listen to a piece of music, repeat a short prayer or a mantra. And the practice is to have a receptive attitude, receptive to this healing life energy, and to observe your body, having the intention to take this energy in. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to receive this energy. Just keep coming back to observing the body. Understanding that every sensation you feel while doing this practice is a step towards your healing, towards your recovery. So I invite you to continue to do this practice. In fact, you're welcome to just sit with your eyes closed and just continue to observe your body while having the intention to take this energy in. As I do a little talking. So this is a quote of Bruno Groening's. He said, "Man acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves the man to deed." So, if you want to understand yourself, if you want to understand a human being, a very simple way to do that is to think in terms of will, thought, and deed. What is will? Will is our intention. It's the driving, in essence, it's like desire even stronger. It's like the force of our soul. So where we direct that will, that intention, according to Bruno Groening, is the foundation of our life. In essence, as human beings, we often think about will in terms of engaging our will to achieve a particular thing. Like one thing I like to do is I like to lift weights, and sometimes I usually do sets of 10, and sometimes I get to around 8 or 9, and it's so hard to do that last one. And so that's where I really engage my will towards a specific, to do that last rep where I'm putting all of my being into that action. So Bruno Groening is when he's talking about will, he's talking about will in a more of an abstract sense, as opposed to engaging our will towards a specific activity or a specific goal. He's talking about will in my understanding, a very specific way. Our will to connect to God or not. From that decision, and by God, Bruno Groening often would just say God is the good, meaning God is wholesomeness, guten, wholesomeness, healthiness, that which nourishes. So from that decision, here the quote is again, it says, "Man acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought." So depending on our will has a strong determination on the kind of thoughts we have. If we have our intention and focus, I think that's another good that's another good understanding of will. What's our intense focus on? What's our intention? If our intention is to the good, God, then we'll tend to have more positive thoughts, more helpful, healthy, and true thoughts. Why is this so important? Because Bruno Groening points out, as have many psychologists and again, many wise teachers throughout the ages, thought moves us to deed. The German, Bruno didn't say moves, he didn't speak English, he spoke German. The German word is bewegen. And it has this meaning of to push, to force, to coerce, to move something. It's kind of like, if I'm going to move my computer, I actually exert force on it and move it. So according to Bruno Groening, our thoughts actually push us towards deeds, towards actions. And what is a life? What is my life or your life or any life? It's a series of actions. Where do those actions primarily come from? Our thoughts. What determines what kind of thoughts we have? According to Bruno Groening, our intention. So we started off by talking about that there's two forces in the universe, Guten and Bosse. And if our intention is to connect to Guten, then we'll tend to have positive, healthy, helpful thoughts. And then we'll tend to act in a helpful, healthy way. But as I said at the very beginning, Bosse is constantly trying to pull us away from Guten and actually trying to do more, trying to actually harm life, to do damage. So if we're not consciously connecting with Guten, we're going to be unconsciously or habitual connecting to Bosse and heading slowly, sometimes quickly, but oftentimes just slowly headed on a downwards path. So moment by moment in this game of life, in the war of life, it's our job to engage our will and connect to the Guten, which is, according to Bruno Groening, God itself. So let's spend a little more time in silence, taking in this energy, engaging our will. Our will to receive the good, to be free of everything not good, through observing the body with this receptive attitude. observing the body, having the will, the intention to receive this energy. So once again, I'm going to talk a little bit, and you're welcome to just sit and I not just you are welcome, but I invite you to just sit and continue to tune in and take in this energy. So, all of this is a very interesting philosophy. However, it's also a very concrete philosophy in that it creates results in the physical world. What I'm talking about is actual healings of medically incurable conditions. The first healing I experienced on this path was of a second degree burn. Now, a second degree burn is when the top layer of the skin is permanently burnt off. The part of the skin that just naturally regrows has been destroyed and it doesn't grow back. So that happened to be in 2009. I touched something very hot with with my left thumb, and it just left this. It just burned, and the funny thing was it didn't really hurt because it was so hot that it just burnt away the pain receptors. It was a very small, maybe maybe 5 centimeters or a quarter of an inch big on my thumb. Not very big. But I had that. I had that for about 3 years, and life went on. It's just this weird red spot on my thumb. The fingerprint was burnt off, and it was just different colored from the rest of my thumb. Well, soon after finding out about these teachings and this practice we're doing, I was sitting in a gathering, not so different from this one, practicing this tuning in that we're doing right now, this receiving energy. And I just started to itch that thumb. It happened unconsciously, and I didn't know what was going on. And I looked and I was utterly shocked. The thumb had, that red spot was no longer red. It was now sort of light red, dark pink. And I didn't know what was going on. But I watched over the next week as it changed colors from, dark pink to light pink to whitish to pale to skin color, and the skin grew back. I'd had it for 3 years, and one day it just grew back. to the point where even my fingerprint grew back. Medically impossible, completely contrary to the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. But Bruno Groening pointed out that there's a higher law, a divine law, and that this dance, this game and warfare between good and evil is really, and that God is the supreme power in the universe. You know, in modern society, we tend to think of science. Many people think of science as the highest truth. But Bruno Groening pointed out that there is a force that is beyond the physical. He spoke of it, he called it spirit. He said, spirit rules over matter. There's something even more powerful than what we call the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. Bruno Groening he used different words. He called it the Guten, meaning the good or the wholesome or the beneficial. He called it God. He called it love. He called it Leben, existence. He called it many things, but what's important is not so much what you call it, but the recognition that it exists and that for it, there's no problem that cannot be solved, no illness that cannot be cured. There's no limits on this power other than the limits we as human beings place on it through our lack of faith, through our negative thinking, through our negative behavior, through all the things we do that oftentimes unconsciously disconnect us, unalign us. So it's our job to align ourselves with that power, to receive it, and ultimately to follow it, to be guided by it. So let's reflect on that God is the supreme physician, that all things are possible through God, and turn to the supreme physician, whether you call him, her, it, spirit, love, life, God, it's not so important. But let's turn to it and ask for its help, and then receive that help through observing the body. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. To anyone who's new, a very warm welcome. And please do feel free to say hello or post any questions or comments. So we looked at at a very fundamental level, what is life about? According to Bruno Groening, and my understanding, it's really the essence of what Jesus taught. And, you'll find slightly different words, but you'll find the same thing in Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. For example, in Hinduism, they talk about the truth and illusion, or God and Maya, which means illusion or delusion. In Buddhism, there's nirvana, which has many translations, but again, the truth, and there's nirvana, and then there's ignorance, and you'll find these two forces described in really most major philosophies or religions. They just have slightly different words, but the essence of them, that which is helpful, beneficial, that which is harmful, destructive, and that the two forces are in essence kind of vying for our attention, and that the essence of life is learning to connect to the good and be guided by it. And as Bruno Groening said, become an instrument of it, become a servant of it, be in service to that goodness. So we looked at that on the one hand, it's a game because we're an immortal soul, and that an immortal soul, an immortal spirit that can't be harmed. And on the other hand, it's a war, it's a struggle, because this immortal soul can be led on a very painful journey. The essence of how to connect to the good is to engage our will for the good, to have this intention to be connected to God, to follow God, and then to be guided by it. This is so important because our will determines our thoughts, and our thoughts determines our deeds, and our deeds are really our life. What is life but one deed after another? And Bruno Groening pointed out that what is a deed but acting on a thought? What determines what kind of thoughts we have? Primarily, and it's a deep topic, but primarily our will. And he also pointed out that we need to learn to watch our thoughts and discern which thoughts are good and which thoughts are not good. That's a whole other topic. And that this philosophy isn't just a philosophy, that it actually has impact on the material world through taking in the divine energy. Matter can actually be rearranged, as happened with the healing of my thumb. And this beautiful practice of taking this energy in. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. And once again, welcome to anyone who's new. Thank you for saying hi, Germana, and thank you for the fun emojis. And I wish you all a beautiful day of connecting with this goodness. Take care. Much love.